You have a coworker who rolls in 45 minutes late, takes a 90-minute lunch, and somehow walked out of last quarter's performance review with a raise. Meanwhile, you have not missed a deadline in 2 years. You covered 3 people's jobs during the hiring freeze, and your manager's idea of recognition was a Slack message that said, "Great work, team." If you have ever sat at your desk wondering whether the system is actually broken, it is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. And today, we are going to decode exactly how. A 2019 Gallup study found that 85% of employees worldwide are either not engaged or actively disengaged at work. That number did not stop companies from turning profits. It did not trigger mass layoffs. The lights stayed on. And the reason the lights stayed on is because of people like you, the engaged minority, the ones who quietly absorb everything the disengaged majority drops. Here's a story that will feel uncomfortably familiar. Imagine a woman named Priya. She works in the finance department of a mid-sized company in Atlanta. Priya is sharp, thorough, and the kind of person who triple checks her models before sending them upstream. Sitting 2 desks away from her is a guy named Derek. Derek is pleasant, remembers everyone's birthdays, and is genuinely fun at the company happy hour. He is also, by every measurable standard, doing about 30% of what his job description says he should be doing. And yet Derek has been at this company for 6 years. He has never been put on a performance improvement plan. He has never been written up. He floats through every quarter like a boat that nobody bothered to anchor. Now here's where it gets interesting, and this is the first reason why people like Derek are practically untouchable. Derek has mastered what we call the minimum performance threshold. He doesn't try to do everything well. He has reverse engineered his job to understand exactly which deliverables have real consequences and which ones are just theater. He knows which deadlines his manager actually tracks in the Monday morning meeting, and which ones get buried in a spreadsheet nobody opens. He knows which KPIs trigger a difficult conversation, and which ones get waved away with "we'll revisit next quarter." While Priya is spending cognitive energy trying to be excellent across every dimension of her role, Derek has quietly mapped the floor plan of accountability in their department, and he stays just above the line that matters, and not 1 inch above anything else. Here's the uncomfortable part. The reason Derek can stay below the radar on everything else is because Priya fills the gaps. She notices when his section of the report is missing. She quietly finishes it before the VP sees the deck. She doesn't even think about it, it's just who she is. But in doing so, she has become the invisible infrastructure that makes Derek's low effort sustainable. She's not just carrying her weight, she's carrying his too. And the system has no reason to flag that, because from the outside, everything looks fine. Stop thinking about work as a meritocracy for a second, because the data says it's not. A study published in the Academy of Management journal found that performance accounts for only about 10% of career advancement outcomes. The rest is a combination of visibility, social capital, and perception management. 10%. You've been grinding for the 10% slice, while other people are playing the other 90. This brings us to the second reason people like Derek stay employed, and sometimes even get promoted. They are elite at strategic energy investment. They spend almost no energy on work that nobody important will ever see, and they pour disproportionate effort into being seen, being liked, and being credited, even when they contributed almost nothing to the actual output. Think about what Derek's Tuesday actually looks like. While Priya is deep in her spreadsheets, Derek is having a 20-minute conversation with the CFO in the kitchen about the weekend's golf tournament. He's dropping by the marketing team's area to complement their new campaign. He's sending a thoughtful reply-all email on a thread that gives him a chance to signal alignment with leadership's priorities. None of that is in his job description. All of it is building his reputation. And here's the brutal truth. For the people who determine Derek's fate at that company, their entire sample of him is those hallway conversations and those reply-all emails. They don't see the empty cells in his spreadsheet. They see a guy who is engaged, positive, and culturally aligned. And then there's the credit problem. High performers tend to be humble about their contributions. They do the work and assume the work speaks for itself. It does not. Derek has learned to position himself at the finish line of projects he barely ran in. When a big deliverable crosses the line successfully, Derek is in the debrief talking about what we built together and making sure his name is attached to the outcome. Priya did 85% of the work. The room remembers Derek's closing remarks. This is not a personality flaw. This is a systematic gap between how results are created and how results are attributed. And if you are a high performer who does not close that gap yourself, someone else will close it for you, in their own name. Here is something that almost nobody talks about, and it is the third reason low performers survive. The double standard of expectations creates an accountability shield that protects them from consequences. Your manager knows who is reliable. They know that if something mission-critical lands on their desk at 4:30 on a Friday, they are calling you, not Derek. They know Derek will either dodge it, misunderstand the brief, or deliver something that needs to be redone, so they do not even ask him anymore. And this creates a dynamic that sounds helpful on the surface, but is actually deeply punishing. Because you receive more work, more responsibility, and more visibility into high-stakes situations, you are also exposed to more opportunities to fail. Derek, because he is never trusted with anything critical, is also never in a position to drop anything critical. He cannot fail on a big stage because nobody puts him on a big stage. You are being evaluated on a curve that bends sharply upward. Derek is being evaluated on a curve that barely rises off the floor. And because the bar is so low for him, the rare occasions when he does complete something competently get disproportionate praise. He finished the slide deck on time. He gets a "Derek really stepped up this month." You finished a complete financial model, caught an error that would have cost the company $200,000, and trained a new hire simultaneously. You get silence, or a group Slack message that names 4 people. There's also something called passive delegation that Derek has mastered without ever reading a business book about it. When Derek does not complete his portion of a shared project, the team has a binary choice: absorb his work or let the whole thing fail. And since everyone's name is on the outcome, the team absorbs it every single time. Derek knows this. He's been counting on it for years. And here's the part that makes a senior leader's jaw drop when you explain it to them. From the outside, that pattern looks like Derek is effectively delegating. It looks like he's leveraging his team's strengths. The very behavior that burns out Priya is the behavior that some managers in the building quietly respect, because it looks like something leaders do. This is the fourth reason, and it's the one that ties the entire system together. The people who have the power to fire Derek do not experience Derek as a problem. They experience Priya as reliable. That's not the same thing. Think about what Derek's presence actually costs his manager. He's not missing the hard deadlines because he barely has any. He's not starting conflict because people pleasers avoid conflict by definition. He's not threatening anyone's position because he's not ambitious. He's not making costly errors because he's not doing enough work to make them. What his manager sees is a team that is delivering, a guy who is pleasant in every interaction, and a status quo that requires zero intervention. Now think about what firing Derek would actually require: an HR process, documentation of performance issues, which is tricky when Derek has been careful to stay just above the minimum threshold, a hiring search that could take 3 to 5 months, an onboarding period, a transition risk window where things that Derek was nominally responsible for could fall through the cracks publicly. Keeping Derek costs nothing visible. Removing Derek costs time, energy, and real organizational risk. And there's one more layer that almost nobody is willing to say out loud. A significant portion of the people in leadership positions got there by doing a version of exactly what Derek does. They worked strategically, they managed perceptions, they invested in relationships over output at key moments. When they look at Derek, they don't see a problem. They see a younger version of a playbook they recognize. That's not a comfortable thing to say, but it explains why the system doesn't punish this behavior. It rewards it at every level. So where does that leave you? It leaves you at a choice. You can keep being the invisible infrastructure, the person whose reliability makes everyone else's underperformance survivable, or you can take what you now understand about how visibility, credit, and accountability actually function and use it to protect yourself. Stop automatically absorbing work that wasn't assigned to you. Start being as intentional about who sees your contributions as you are about the quality of those contributions. Understand that the game isn't just about doing the work, It's about making sure the right people understand who did it. The playing field was never level, but now you can see exactly where the slope runs downhill, and that means you can stop sliding on it. If this breakdown hit differently and you want to keep understanding money the way they never taught you in school, please like the video so that it reaches the right audience and subscribe to Decoded. We decode the psychology, the systems, and the real mechanics behind wealth, so you stop reacting to your finances and start understanding them, one video at a time. See you in the next one.